Hey guys, I'm Jeffrey.
And I'm Jeremy.
And it's Saturday.
So the other day I was actually going downstairs to the laundry room, and there's a box that I pass by every single time I go down into the basement, and I didn't even notice it until then, what it actually was. And it was a box full of children's books from when we were kids. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to totally grab this box, take it up to my room, and go through it and see what I find. And hopefully I'd find some, books that I read as a kid. And we definitely did, and it brought back kind of a lot of memories and
Nostalgia.
and I kind of flipped through them and just to remember the books I read when I was growing up. And so I thought we would share some of those with you, and some others that I've had growing up or that I've bought recently, just to add to the collection. But I thought I'd share them with you just to kind of either reminisce or just kind of show you some books that I read as a kid, and maybe you can share with us later on some books that you read as a kid. That'd be fun.
Some of our favorites growing up were a lot of obviously the Dr. Seuss books, but also the Dr. Seuss, these are the beginner books. So not really not really as well known as some of his other, like Cat in the Hat or Sam I Am stuff, but we loved these as kids.
Any of any of the beginning readers, the stuff that helped you along, after you read all the Dr. Seuss books, kind of helped to have the books that were in the same style, but not by, Dr. Seuss alone. Another one of those books kind of like the same, and I'm sure all of you have read this book as a child.
Hopefully.
Cats for Sale. Found this and definitely brought back a lot of memories because pretty sure I've read this book 1,000,000 times as a kid.
1,000 million. Also, Katie No Pocket. It's about a kangaroo
without a pocket.
Without a pocket. So the guy that's caring for Katie, has an apron with a lot of pockets, and he carries stuff around. So it's like a human kangaroo.
It's a pretty great story. It's about friendship with the kangaroo. Another one you may remember, Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel.
We remember it.
Definitely read this quite a few times and love it.
The Little House. And I remember reading this a lot. It's about this little house that stays in the same spot while the industry and cities boom around it and is building around it. But all the time, it just wants you to be a little house.
Kind of like an Up, where he wants to stay where he is because he's always lived there, but the city is trying to kick him out.
Yeah.
Next up is kind of like a bundle, just because I've got a lot of these, but pretty much, obviously, any of the Disney books.
The classic Disneys.
Like Pinocchio. Not so much a classic.
Simba's Pride.
Lion King, Simba's Pride. Toy Story book. 101 Dalmatians. And all-time favorite, Peter Pan and Captain Hook. Also, any of the big Walt Disney specials, like Bambi. We also had Robin Hood, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White,
Aladdin,
Dumbo.
Got a few more here, not to keep you waiting. No More Monsters for Me.
Oh yeah.
It's about a story of love and monsters. A little girl who loves a monster.
Love with Monsters, because
No.
that is not a children's book.
No. That's like the beast in me. The story about Ping. It's about a duck.
Kind of like a Ugly Duckling story, but it's about a duck who ends up on a ship, and I don't remember. It's been a long time since I read it.
The author's last name is Flack, and that reminds me of the Aflac duck.
But yeah,
Danny the Dinosaur.
Danny and the Dinosaur.
Danny and the Dinosaur. I messed that up. But it's about a boy who rides a dinosaur. It's been a while since I've read this book.
So kind of like Clifford and the Big Red Dog, but it's Danny and the big brown
Gray.
dinosaur.
The big... Look, it's a bunch of children riding him around a house.
These are the things we would do if dinosaurs weren't extinct and did not eat people. And if they were all herbivores.
And it's hiding behind a house on a billboard that says, brush your teeth.
We would ride
Every day.
dinosaurs.
Speaking of dinosaurs, this book.
This book was the book of imagination as a kid because not only did this book...
It's one of the Magic Castle readers, which was very imaginative
Right.
series of books.
But not only did it talk about, like, using your imagination, but it was also a big, like, read other books type of a book because it talks about your imagination, it talks about how reading expands your imagination. So, I don't know. Just
So the whole story is about him riding hanging out with a dinosaur. And in the end, he's reading a book about a dinosaur.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, just so you know.
But
the back cover pretty much explains it all. Sitting in front of a bookshelf, reading.
so as we grew up a little bit more and moved on, not quite to Nancy Drew yet, Pam, but almost to Nancy Drew.
Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh.
A.A. Milne. Classic stuff.
Big Winnie the Pooh fan.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, my favorite movie by far is Pooh's Grand Adventure.
Mine
one.
is actually the newest one.
Oh yes, the newest
The
one.
newest
Very,
Winnie the
very
Pooh
good.
movie. If you have not seen that, go see it because it's really good.
It just brought up
And
so much nostalgia and good memories from childhood.
Also, while we're on the subject of something a movie, we recently saw The Muppets, which was fan-freaking-tastic, and Jason Segel did an amazing job.
He is. He's such a Muppet of a man. Or a very manly Muppet.
Very manly Muppet. But it just brought back another, since we're talking about kind of nostalgia here, bringing back childhood memories. I watched a lot of The Muppets growing up, and so watching it again, it kind of makes me really want them to bring back The Muppet Show on television.
Yes. So we could sing the Rainbow Connection.
So go see that. That was a little rabbit trail,
Yeah.
but The Muppets is amazing, and it brought back a lot of memories. But it's actually a fantastic movie. Moving along with children's books that are a little step above Bambi and Caps for Sale. Pretty much any of Roald Dahl's books.
Which is kind of including going into the movies as well, because
Right.
several of his books have been made into movies.
Definitely Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and The Glass Elevator. Great books. Fantastic Mr. Fox. He's also written Matilda, The Witches, BFG, The Twins, James and the Giant Peach,
All the good
a
stuff.
ton. Like,
All the good stuff.
pretty much any kid's book or kid's movie you can think of. You just go look in the bookstore that's under Roald Dahl, and he probably wrote it.
As Jeremy said, one of the best Disney stories that he loves was Peter Pan and Captain Hook. Well, we love the classic, the original before Disney tale. It's much thicker than Disney could have done. It's the actual full story and everything. It's a little different than Disney's because Disney kind of made it a little happier because they're Disney.
And they do that.
But it's a really good story for all of you to read if you haven't. If you just grew up with the idea of Peter Pan and not the full story, then you should definitely go check out the original by, who is it by? J.M. Barrie. Yeah.
And speaking of, this is just kind of a funny thing that I like to say, but speaking of Disney movies ruining actual books, if you didn't know, and kids, if you're watching, plug your ears if you love The Hunchback of Notre Dame, but if you didn't know, the ending is not so happy. The ending of the actual Hunchback of Notre Dame, Quasimodo goes to the bell tower and hangs himself.
But that's not in the Disney movie.
Nope.
You don't see that.
The Disney movie's happy. He ends up with Esmeralda. I think that's her name. Yeah, ends up. I think that's. I haven't seen it in years, but I just know. Not so happy ending. He hangs himself. Okay, kids, you can unplug your ears again. But I was just talking about how Quasimodo kills himself. So, lastly, I thought I'd say this for last because it is my all-time favorite kids book. Just, like, I can't get enough of it. I have 2 copies of it just because
we've read it so many times. Spine is like dead.
Spine's cracking, so I had to buy a new copy. And, I don't know. I mean, it just speaks for itself. Holes by Louis Sekar. I just love this book so much. I mean, you can see, if I just show you the damage that's been done to this book right here. This is the one I read over 10 times in one summer. I remember it profoundly because we built a blanket fort in our room. I would sit under there and just read it. I read it a lot of times in my blanket fort.
We still make blanket forts to this day.
We do. My bed is actually a blanket fort.
It is.
Really, that's all the kids' books we could think of.
Those are kind of like an insight into our childhood.
That was our childhood right there, wrapped up into past however many minutes this video is. And yeah, so we would really actually love to hear what your children's books are. If you want to make a video response and just tag us in it, or leave it in the comments, some of your favorite kids' books. We'd just love to, hear about it. And that is all for our Saturday video this week. Next week we will probably have some information on a thing we're going to tonight. We're actually going to see Cassie Clare up in Greenville for her book signing for Clockwork Prince. So pretty excited about that. We'll probably have some pictures, videos to include in our next week's video. But we will see you next week, and again, just share with us in your comments if you have any kids' books or any things that you loved as a kid. See ya.